It is not just on the strength of the degree certificate that I can admit you and expect you to do well. MBA में technology नहीं चाहिए. We don't have fintech.
We have Professor Amit Das with us.
I teach data science for a living. About 10 years ago, the field of data science started to reawaken. Data science gave me a chance to flex those muscles all over again.
So, how was your experience at Singapore?
Singapore is the kind of place where you get students not only from Singapore who are very, very good, but you also get the best from India, the best from China, Indonesia, Philippines, Hong Kong, Malaysia. It's like a melting pot, you know.
So, any particular reason why you decided to come back?
I had always benefited from the taxpayer of India. You know, IIT education was deeply subsidized. IIM education was almost free. I had a national talent search scholarship all through my college days. I had only taken from this country and never given anything back.
When you look at what kind of students you want to have, are there any specific set of skills that you're looking for?
A business school inside the university is a very different animal from an IIM or standalone business school. If you are the kind that wants to start a new venture and you design a new product, we have a fabrication shop where you can go and actually make a prototype. I want students who will take full advantage of this infrastructure.
So when it comes to the MBA program, what specializations are offered?
Ahmedabad University prides itself in giving students a completely blank check in terms of what you want to study.
Hi students, welcome to this special segment wherein we have Professor Amit Das with us. He is someone who has spent 3 decades of his career in the education domain. He started his career, if I say, right after his PhD from Carlson at Nanyang University in Singapore, and from there on he spent a decade at Qatar University. After that, he decided to move back to India, and in the last 5 years he was associated with Kriya University, and now he has recently joined Amrut Modi School of Management, Ahmedabad University as Senior Associate Dean. So in this conversation, we are going to understand a lot about his career, his experiences in the education domain, and we are going to talk about the B School itself. So let's get started. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So let's start with your introduction in terms of your education. So of course, I covered a little bit, but we would like to hear more from you.
Sure. So growing up, we all wanted to become doctors and engineers. I decided to become an engineer. And in those days, you could go to IIT after class 11, which is what I did, to a 5-year degree, pursued a degree in electronics and electrical communication engineering, and then without stopping to work as an engineer, took admission into IIM Calcutta right after that. IIM Calcutta, actually, we did not have a specialization. It was a general management program, but I took a lot of courses in marketing and really liked it. So I went on to become a market research officer at Tata Motors. In those days, it was called the Tata Engineering and Locomotive Company. Our office was in the Fort area in Bombay, and then I spent some time in their Calcutta office, the regional office also. After a total of 3 years of work experience, I went to the US to pursue my PhD, and I finished my PhD from the Carlson School of Management, University of Minnesota in 1994. So being from India, we were always looking for a place to work that will be close to India, close to our parents, close to our home and so on. Singapore proved to be a very attractive option. Though I went there for a short stint, I ended up staying 15 years there at the Nanyang Technological University. The university made good progress during that time. We came up into the list of top 25, top 50 universities in The Economist, in the Financial Times and so on. And I learned, most of what I practice now I learned at Nanyang, so I must be grateful to them. I went on to Qatar University and worked there for 10 years. In Qatar University, I had the chance to expand my domain of operations. I worked with AACSB accreditation. I branched out into new courses in management. And 10 years there, after which I was ready to relocate to India. And right on cue, the job at IFMR, the business school, which was then located inside Kriya University, that came along. And I took up that job and worked there for 5 years. After that, Amrut Modi School of Management, Ahmedabad University. I teach data science for a living. Last semester, I taught statistics and machine learning. And in the upcoming semesters, I'll teach more or less similar things. So that's what I am, data scientist by training and working at Ahmedabad University.
So what got you interested in data science?
Data science has been interesting for quite some time. I started off doing a project where we had to diagnose faults in a manufacturing process. This was paid for by IBM in North America. And we had to classify different classes of faults. We did that using human beings. It was called expert systems. But I got a side interest and started doing it using machine learning also. And I remember being able to outperform the human expert at the end of the year. So, though my supervisor was not very impressed, he said, "You should focus on human beings. We are trying to study expertise." I went to the TJ Watson Research Center in upstate New York, and I talked to them and I told them that machine learning is looking very promising. Published a paper or two about that, but then it went into the back burner. Started a mainstream career teaching statistics, information systems, and so on. About 10 years ago, the field of data science started to reawaken, and I realized that I had the toolkit to take it up, seriously all over again. So that is the reason for resurgence of data science. I have generally been cautious about promoting data science. It's a relatively old subject, been around for a while. I hope this time we deliver what the public wants so that the public's interest in the field does not go unrewarded or wasted. So it's been relatively seamless for me. Electronics engineering itself is a very quantitative field, and IIM Calcutta was also a very quantitative oriented MBA. So I was never far from numbers, were never far from mathematics, but data science gave me a chance to flex those muscles all over again.
Nice. So, how was your experience at Singapore? So, again, moving from India to US and then to Singapore. So, again, how was it?
Singapore, I was blessed to have excellent students. Though I kind of took credit for the university moving up the ranks and so on, it was actually the students that drove the whole thing. And Singapore is the kind of place where you get students not only from Singapore who are very, very good, but you also get the best from India, the best from China, Indonesia, Philippines, Hong Kong, Malaysia. It's like a melting pot, Amazing students we got. I remember teaching classes from 6 to 9 in the evening in the MBA program, and the class would get so exciting and sometimes so heated. We would discuss things, so sort of aggressively that I could not sleep till midnight, It is to get so excited. And I realized that the students knew much more than I gave them credit for. They would come extremely well prepared. There were times when they would come and ask me for the solutions to problems, and I would tell them I have the solutions to odd numbered problems because that's there in the book. And they would say, "Sir, आप तो odd numbered problems दोगे नहीं, exam में तो even numbered problems ही आएंगे, तो उनका solutions चाहिए." And I would tell them, "Please wait for 2-3 days, let me solve the problems by myself, and then I'll give you the solutions." So both in terms of ability and motivation, Singapore students were very, very strong, and I learned a lot from them. Teaching them was a very, very rewarding experience.
Okay, and then from there, when you moved to Middle East, Qatar,
Yes,
so how was
yes.
that experience?
That started off being a shock, because the students were no longer so well prepared. I would assign a Harvard case of 20 pages and 10 pages of worth of appendices, and nobody would read the case, and I would go struggle in class, because I had taken training in Harvard Business School, particularly for case teaching. And there was a time in my career when I refused to teach any theory. I would teach only cases. And that fell flat on its face in Qatar because they would not read the case, and I would struggle to keep a 90-minute class or a 3-hour class afloat when the students hadn't read the case. But then, being human, we adapt. And slowly I learned to teach that other end of the spectrum. Instead of case, I would use caselet, a 1 to 3 page document that can be read in class itself. Sometimes instead of assigning a case, I'd assign a newspaper article to get the thing going. And slowly, I managed to come to the level where they were comfortable in meeting me. And so I enjoyed my experience in Qatar, but it was a whole lot of relearning. Much of what I had learned in Singapore did not work in Qatar. Whole new set of skills were required. The ability to explain things simply, the patience to explain things over and over again if it didn't go across the first time, the ability to motivate students with stories about Formula One and football and Premier League, because that's what got them interested in, before you could teach them the subject. All this I learned in Qatar. So I would not downplay my experience in Qatar. It was a different kind of experience. And then I came to India, and that is another story.
So, any particular reason why you decided to come back?
We had actually spent by then 30 years outside the country. It was never my intention to go away for that long. We had gone to study overseas. The intention was to come back and work in India. So as soon as my son became kind of financially independent and we were not looking at paying large tuition in the United States, I thought that we should go back to India. I had always benefited from the taxpayer of India. IIT education was deeply subsidized. IIM education was almost free. I had a national talent search scholarship all through my college days. I had only taken from this country and never given anything back. So it was time to sort of change my role, come back here and try to make a difference. What I realized is that India has so many talented people that it is in no way waiting for anybody. It is not like, I was being missed here and I had to come back. But I came here and I found my own slot where I could contribute. And that happened to be in the area of MBA and data science and some administrative work, which is what I did there, which is what I continue to do now. So India was always on the cards. We never changed citizenship. We never were going to settle anywhere else. It was just a matter of 3 years becoming 30. I had gone for, thinking it was a 3 year stint in Singapore and could not control, the desire to stay on longer.
So when you decided to come back to India and started with Kriya, so did you see any change in the entire education landscape because you had spent considerable time outside?
Yes, I was very much sort of surprised by the Indian education landscape. When we went, as I was telling you, we were either doctors or engineers. There were few career options. By the time we came back, there were many, many career options. People could work in game design, could work in, visual arts. People could work in all kinds of interesting fields without having to do the same old medicine and engineering, So I was very enthused by how broad the Indian education sector had begun. But I was also concerned that the standards were not being enforced the way they used to be in our time. In our time, if a person went to an REC, which we now call NIT, you went, there was a certain standard. You didn't have to worry about the standard. Now you get people from a variety of institutions, and some are very, very good, and some are not very, very good. So you have to be a little more watchful. You have to look at tests like CAT scores. You have to do personal interviews. It is not just on the strength of the degree certificate that I can admit you and expect you to do well. So it has brought a lot of freshness to the landscape, but it has also taught us to be a little more watchful and careful over who we admit and what kind of background they have. One common thing that I find nowadays is there are excellent commerce graduates that come to MBA programs. Due to some historical accident, they did not take mathematics in class 11 and 12, which becomes a real impediment. If you are going with marketing, HR and so on, you don't feel it so much. But if you are in the quantitative end of finance, trying to do options, swaps, derivatives and so on, not having math at the class 12 level at least becomes a real problem. So I don't know how to solve the problem. But this year in Ahmedabad University, when we are looking for people to admit, we are going to look to see if we can admit more people who have what we call a STEM background, science, technology, engineering or mathematics kind of background, because particularly in the high end of finance, mathematics is an essential skill. And unless we have that kind of students, we will not be able to teach that kind of subject.
So right now in your current role, when you look at what kind of students you want to have in your as part of the institute, are there any specific set of skills that you're looking for?
Yes, there are. I mean, one of the things that I am now blessed to have, I didn't have this earlier, is the privilege of working inside a university. A business school inside the university is a very different animal from an IIM or standalone business school. So on Wednesday, for example, I went to a talk in economics, which is close to my field. But I paid the price by missing the talk in physics and missing the talk in psychology. When I was in IIM, I never knew about the existence of these fields. I was blissfully unaware. We had come there to study management, we will study management and go. But being in a university, you get an exposure to a lot of things. You can actually go to computer science and take their machine learning courses, which are more rigorous than the business school machine learning courses. If you are the kind that wants to start a new venture and you design a new product, we have a fabrication shop where you can go and actually make a prototype. We have a venture financing incubator where you can go and you can have your firm incorporated and incubated for 6 months, 1 year, however long you need support before you can enter the market, So these are things that a university provides that a standalone business school does not have. And now that I am inside one of them, I want students who will take full advantage of this infrastructure. To us, a student who comes and just wants to study their narrow range of subjects, is not very interesting, because they will not take advantage of the whole package that Ahmedabad University offers. For example, we just won a global contract for setting up a fintech institute in Gift City in Gandhinagar. Global contract. We defeated, I am not afraid to name them, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kanpur, NYU to get this contract. You can check it in the newspaper. Now, I would like a person who comes and expresses interest in this. Fintech may not have made its way into the syllabus, but a person who is curious, sir, kya hai fintech, kya kar sakte hain, can you put a course? That kind of person is more attractive to me than somebody who says, no, I want to do just basic finance and I'm going to move on, MBA mein technology nahi chahiye. We don't have fintech. So we want person with an open mind who will take full advantage of what we have to offer, which is a very wide breadth and a degree of exposure that I was never fortunate enough to have. But I am actually jealous of these guys. They have so many things that they can do that I could never do. So I want a person like that.
And in addition to MBA, you also have other programs. So if you can just talk about that.
We have a Masters of Science in Economics. We just rebranded it from Master of Arts to Master of Science when we realized how quantitative economics has become over time. So the Master of Science in Economics is a policy-oriented program. Not only do you learn economics, you have a data science specialization inside of that. And the people that graduate from this program will be well advised to, join think tanks, the government, investment banks, and so on, to give the latest in economics to these organizations. We have an MS in quantitative finance, which, as you can guess, is high finance, rocket science and finance essentially. The people who do quantitative finance in Wall Street are not finance people. They're usually engineers, physicists, scientists of various sorts, and so on. So it is with the QF program, high-end math-oriented courses. This is the reason I'm also pushing on the STEM background. We need a few people who can handle that level of mathematics, handle stochastic calculus, handle high levels of mathematical intensity. And then we have a very interesting program in heritage management, maybe the only one in the country. If I knew for sure, I would be more confident, but I think we are the only one in the country. Ahmedabad in particular, Gujarat in general, India in general has extensive heritage that we can leverage. We can harness it. I was going to say monetize, but I probably would be wrong. It's not just about the money. We want to maintain the heritage also. We don't want to eat up the heritage while we are trying to make money off of it. So how to maintain our old culture and legacy, how to get people interested, how to get our own people interested, how to get our own school students to visit all these places, how to bring college groups to come and take part in renovating, maintaining these activities. So starting from museums to all kinds of heritage things that we have, they also require management. And the program in heritage management teaches you management while being sensitive to the cultural side of heritage. A person who is just management will blunder in there and do something which will shock the heritage people. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हो आप. You cannot take a museum and make it 100 rupee entrance, because that defeats the purpose of the museum, which is to make it available to everybody. But if you're a heritage person, you know how to travel on that fine line, how to make heritage accessible and yet sustainable. Because if you don't take anything for entry, how will you maintain the museum? After some time it will decay, it will fall apart. So this is a very tricky business. We take a small cohort of about 20-25 students. We have very good students right now, come all the way from Chennai and other places, and we hope to keep up that standard. But it's a very niche program. And the students that graduate from us are in high demand all over the country, because in India we are generally very culture oriented, but we have not made a systematic attempt to have curators, programs that cater to this segment and so on. We have hospitality, but we don't have heritage management. That's where we are trying to enter also. So that's our fourth
program. When it comes to the MBA program, what specializations are offered?
We pitch the MBA as a general degree, and as a result we first offer a first year that's common to all. After that, you can study essentially anything that you want to study. Ahmedabad University prides itself in giving students a completely blank check in terms of what you want to study. So you can study finance, marketing, operations, strategy, HR, data science, some combination thereof. You want to strengthen it with some computer science, you can do that. You want to deepen with some psychology, you can do that. We will give you a degree which says MBA, but your transcript will reveal what it is that you have studied. And we have noticed that most employers come and look at the transcript more than they look at the degree, because degree is Master of Business Administration, same for all. But the transcript gives a sense of what the student is interested in, what he or she has invested in learning. So that's a better indicator. So that's what we do.
Again, because you spent considerable time in universities in India as well as abroad.
Yes.
So when you look at the student life at Amrut Modi right now, so how do you contrast, and what do you think, let's say, how can somebody really benefit from that experience because it is part of a university.
Yes, we first thing is that our library is open 24 hours a day, literally 24 hours a day, and we have a lot of activities on campus. We have very well cooked, nutritious, healthy food in the canteen. We have sports facilities. We have a running track on the 5th floor of a tall building. We have sports, basketball, cricket, football, all kinds of things. So it's a very enriching personal life, I think this is something I want MBA aspirants to consider कि 2 साल आपको रहना होगा कहीं. You might as well have fun while you're there. Have fun, build a network, build memories that you can look back on say कि हमारे MBA में बहुत मजा आया. I am grateful that that happened for us in IIM Calcutta, but that was more from our initiative than from the institute's initiative. Sorry if I'm sounding a little harsh there. Okay? But at Amrut Modi, we actually try to structure this. We have an office of the Dean of Students. So we have musicals that are hosted by the students. We have plays and dramas and skits that they do. We try to involve the students into extracurricular activities, even if they have not come from undergraduate being enthused about them. थोड़ा कोशिश करो, maybe अच्छा लग जाएगा, and maybe you'll not like it and you'll try something else. So it's a fulfilling personal life. We have a hostel that's half a kilometer away from our campus and shuttles running all the time, back and forth. So both from a personal creativity, I think MBA needs to grow the whole person, because after this you're going to go work in a company. Who you are going to be able to work with will depend a lot on your personality. If you're an attractive, outgoing, interesting personality, people will come to you. If you are sort of withdrawn, timid, reticent kind of personality, you will probably be quite successful crunching the numbers in the back office, but you'll have a hard time showing up in front of management and making a good impression, delivering that killer PowerPoint presentation, building that killer team that can come up with a new product. These require people skills. We are very concerned that our MBA should develop the proper people skills. So we try to give them communication classes. We put them in live projects. We have a project that goes on for 16 months. They join right in the beginning of first year and they do this, and it's called Root Camp. One of the local industries in Ahmedabad takes them under their wing, a group at a time, and they do work for this, for over a year and write a report solving a real business problem. I don't think you have this degree of immersion in real business problems anywhere else in, the business schools that I know of. This is in addition to the summer internship, live projects and courses and so on. Root Camp is like the backbone of our MBA program. Our MBA program students, they start off being a little bit frustrated. Company mein sir kuch nahi ho raha hai. They are not paying attention to us. They are not taking our recommendations seriously. But when they complete, they realize why it is like that, why a company takes time to onboard you, why a company needs to watch you for some time before trusting you with, decent tasks and so on. So I would say venture studio, the atmosphere that we provide for incubation, root camp projects, summer internships, live projects. Being in a city has its advantages, I'm saying this because I came from Sri City in Korea, 70 kilometers from Chennai. It's difficult to get a guest speaker. It's difficult to get a practitioner to come and give a talk. Here we are surrounded by people, in finance, in entrepreneurship, in all kinds of business. So we have a very deep industry connect. Both the conventional industries like textiles, the Arvind Group, and pharma, the are people from Zydus, the are people from Torrent, they are all on our board, active on our board, telling us what to do, demanding that we do certain things, sending their staff to us for executive training and so on. So we are very plugged into industry. For us, industry is not an afterthought. We work for industry just as a natural, part of our activity. I must say that we are blessed to be sponsored by the Ahmedabad Education Society, which is a trust that was set up by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel before independence and has hosted institutions like, you'll be surprised to know, IIM Ahmedabad. IIM Ahmedabad would have been in Bombay had not Dr. Vikram Sarabhai gone to them and said, Ahmedabad mein zameen milega aapko, aa jao. And that's how IIM Ahmedabad became IIM Ahmedabad. Otherwise, it would have been IIM Bombay. We hosted NID, the National Institute of Design, Physical Research Labs, PRL. So the Ahmedabad Education Society has been a magnet for attracting quality educational institutions, and we are very blessed to be, under their tutelage right now. The board members are active, and the industry is very much, very closely watching what we do. and they are not shy to come in and say आपको ये करना चाहिए या आपको वो नहीं करना चाहिए, and we pay attention to that.
So, in addition to these, I mean, because there are so many management schools in India,
Yes,
and you see a lot of competition also
There is.
among students to get in.
there is
And among management education institutions itself, there's a competition.
huge.
So, what is it that Amrut Modi School of Management doing to stay ahead of the curve?
Okay, I think Amrut Modi School of Management is built on playing the long game. Our Vice Chancellor Pankaj Chandra, who is from Wharton, has written a book called Building Universities That Matter. So it's not just universities, it's universities that matter. We know that Harvard is 250 years old and Oxford is 700 years old. We are under no illusion that next year we will be the top brand in India. Not going to happen. But we are in the long game in that we have the resources and the support that can let us play this game for 50 years and emerge as a top business school. What that allows us to do is make decisions that other schools cannot make. So for example, for the MSQF, MS Economics and Heritage Management programs, we provide a 50% scholarship to every single student. So in those programs, if the cost of attending is 5 lakhs, maybe a little bit more, these are adjusted for inflation, everybody gets half off, the students that we want. So our pockets are deep, we can pick the students that we want and we can make sure they'll attend without having to worry about finances. So we have the best of faculty, you will be amazed. Our VC, as I said, is from Wharton. Our provost is from MIT. We have people on the faculty of AMSOM from Yale, Chicago. Name a school, and we have people from there. LSE. So we have excellent faculty. We have excellent physical infrastructure, and we are in this for the long run. We are not trying to maximize CTC, because one of the things I realized in my own career is that my CTC, which I was so proud of coming out of IIM Calcutta, became 1% of my income later on in my career. Almost the round of error, you know. This is not the end of everything. I think you need to get into a job with good content, with good prospects, move into upper management as quickly as possible, make decisions, you know. And for that, we are willing to even hold our batch size down, get only the people that we want, people who have potential, people who we think will go far in life. And we are in it for the long run. So we need students also who are willing to take the long view. कि ये डिग्री करके मुझे 35-40 साल नौकरी करना है. Can you believe that? I mean, that kind of time frame. So I need to learn as much as possible now. That maybe I'll have to come back for a refresher executive MBA course maybe when I'm 45. But 20 साल तो चले ना. If you learn stuff that does not last 20 years, then you're in trouble in this. Of course, one could say that nowadays things have changed and you're not in one career and you can go on from becoming a manager to becoming something else. But we are really trying to make you a general manager or a CEO as soon as possible, but for as long as possible. So we are looking for students who are also willing to prepare themselves for the long game. कि मुझे 40 साल खेलना है.
Yeah. And in terms of the demographic, right, of applicants,
Yes.
Do you get more people with work experience? Do you get more students from, let's say, engineering? If you can just shed some light on that.
I will tell you frankly what I see now, because I'm new to this college and so I have the benefit of having the outside view. I think compared to the schools that I have studied or worked in, we have a low percentage of people with work experience. We have a high percentage of people from Gujarat, particularly from Ahmedabad. We have a low percentage of engineers. So we are trying to improve our diversity. The only diversity point where I'm proud of is we have 50% men and 50% women, which is better than most schools that I have seen. But on all the other counts, geographic diversity, work experience, backgrounds and so on, yes, we need to improve our diversity. We will do whatever it takes. We will give more weightage to these candidates in the application process. When if two people are comparable and one is from Ahmedabad and one is from Rajasthan, we will give preference to the candidate from Rajasthan if we are short of seats, because that person has more to add to the classroom than somebody who is local. So nothing against local, but we are looking to become a national business school rather than a regional business school, and to that extent we have to diversify we are trying our best. I wouldn't say we are there yet, but we are definitely trying.
Right. So, sir, just wanted to understand more about placement outcomes for the students.
Yes. So a large number of our students actually come from business families and they go back to those business families to work. So not everybody uses the placement services. Those who use placement services also tend to be choosy. They want to work in Ahmedabad because the thing that they have figured out is that a job that pays 8 or 10 lakhs in Ahmedabad is equivalent to something that pays 15 or 20 lakhs in Bombay, because you don't have the cost of running an establishment. You're staying at home, you're going to work, like the college days. So our CTC currently is hovering around 7-8 lakhs per annum, but it's a little bit unrepresentative because not everybody is applying for a job. We want to increase the share of out of state students. I think they'll be more open to relocating, and so we are trying to get them interested in taking jobs. We are taking baby steps right now and telling them things like Surat tak jao, Rajkot tak jao, and that also they don't want to go because it's not Ahmedabad. But we are trying to diversify our intake. I am confident that if we have a pan-India intake, our placement numbers will improve significantly. But currently our placement numbers are colored by the fact that almost all of our jobs are in Ahmedabad. That's a requirement for our students. They won't look at a job if it doesn't put them in Ahmedabad. So that depresses the outcomes a little bit, but we are confident of increasing it in the years to come.
Okay. And sir, any tips for applicants? Because I'm sure people who are watching, we are around the CAT season right now. So those who are thinking of applying, what would be your advice to them?
All right. If you are thinking of about applying to MS Economics or MS Quantitative Finance or Masters in Heritage Management, please go ahead and apply, because these are niche programs and there aren't many programs like this in the country. So we should definitely be on your list. As far as MBA goes, MBA programs are plentiful in India and I know you have lots of choices. I think ours is an MBA program that is built around the liberal education model. We want you to become a manager who is also a well-informed human being. We have a very active center for climate change, for example. Sustainability is big on our list. So if you think of yourself as a somewhat differentiated MBA, not just a run-of-the-mill MBA, but with some skills that set you apart, and you are willing to take up jobs in the policy area or maybe in consulting and so on, then I think you should seriously consider us. Don't write us off because of the placement numbers that I told you, because in my career I have found that what you earn on your first job tends to be the round of error of what you earn on your last job. So don't get carried away with job content. Dekhiye, job role dekhiye. Sometimes that job that pays less is training you in a way that you'll be able to monetize later. I won't name, there is a company that teaches you credit ratings. And in IFMR, I learned that they pay the lowest salary. But over time, we trained the kids ki ye job aapko lena hi hai. Because if you work for these guys, even for 3 years, and then you quit, and then you go somewhere, people will value the experience that you've got. So I encourage MBA aspirants to look a little bit beyond the immediate CTC. I'm not just saying this because our CTC is lower than the CTC of some colleges. I am telling you as an MBA myself, what I have learned in my long career is that there will be plenty of time to earn money. But if you get off on the right foot, you are in a position that gives you career growth. That is going to be something that will set you apart from the rest of the MBAs. So please look at things broadly. Please take a holistic view and please consider us when you apply to MBA programs.
So that brings us to the end of this enriching discussion with Professor Amit Das. I hope all of you have also learned a lot from his experience. Thank you so much for watching and wish all of you all the best. In case there are any questions, feel free to leave it as a comment. Thank you so much, sir, for joining and taking time from your busy schedule for all our students.
Good luck to everyone.